Faraway places. Anil and his parents lived in a small coastal town on the Kathiawar Peninsula, where Anil's father was an engineer in the Public Works Department. The boy attended the local school, but as his home was some way out of town, he hadn't had the opportunity of making any friends. Sometimes he went for a walk with his father or mother, but most of the time they were busy, his mother in the house, his father in the office, and as a result, he was busy with his own resources. However, one day, Anil's father took him down to the docks, about 2 miles from the house. They drove down in a car and took the car right up to the pier. It was a small port with a cargo steamer in dock and a few fishing vessels in the harbour. But the sight of the sea and the ships put a strange longing in Anil's heart. The fishing vessels plied only up and down the gulf, but the little steamer, with its black hull and red and white funnel, held romance, the romance of great distances and faraway ports of call, with magic names like Yokohama, Valparaiso, San Diego, London. Anil's father knew the captain of the steamer and took his son aboard. The captain was a Scotsman named Mr. McWhirr, a very jolly person with a thunderous laugh, and showed up a set of dirty yellow teeth. Mr. McWhirr liked to chew tobacco and spit it all over the deck, but he offered Anil's father the best of cigarettes and produced a bar of chocolate for Anil.
"Well, young man,"
he said to the boy with a wink,
"how would you like to join the crew of my ship and see the world?"
"I'd like to, very much, Captain Sir,"
said Anil, looking up uncertainly at his father. The captain roared with laughter, patted Anil on the shoulder, and spat tobacco on the floor.
"You'd like to, eh? I wonder what your father has to say to that."
But Anil's father had nothing to say. Anil visited the ship once again with his father and got to know the captain a little better. And the captain said,
"Well, boy, whenever you have nothing to do, you are welcome aboard my ship. You can have a look at the engines, if you like, or at anything else that takes your fancy."
The next day, Anil walked down the decks alone, and the captain lowered the gangplank specially for him. Anil spent the entire day on board, asking questions from the captain and the crew. He made friends quickly, and the following day when he came aboard, they greeted him as though he was already one of them.
"Can I come with you on your next voyage?"
he asked the captain.
"I can scrub the deck and clean the cabins, and you don't have to pay me anything."
Captain McWhirr was taken aback, but a twinkle came into his eye, and he patted his back and laughed indulgently.
"You are just the person we want. We sail any day now, my boy. So you'd better get yourself ready. A little more cargo, and we'll be steaming into the Arabian Sea. First call Aden, then Suez, and up the canal."
"Will you tell me 1 or 2 days before we sail, so that I can get my things ready?"
asked Anil.
"I'll do that,"
said the captain.
"But don't you think you should discuss this with your father? Your parents might not like being left alone so suddenly."
"Oh, no, sir, I can't tell them. They wouldn't like it at all. You won't tell them, will you, Captain Sir?"
"No, of course not, my boy,"
said Captain McWhirr with a huge wink. During the next 2 days, Anil remained at home, feverishly excited, busily making preparations for the voyage. He filled a pillowcase with some clothes, a penknife, and a bar of chocolate, and hid the bundle in an old cupboard. At dinner one evening, the conversation came around to the subject of ships, and Anil's mother spoke to her husband. "I understand your friend, the captain of the cargo ship, sails tonight?"
"That's right,"
said the boy's father.
"We won't see him again for some time."
Anil wanted to interrupt and inform them that Captain McWhirr wouldn't be sailing yet, but he didn't want to arouse his parents' suspicions. And yet, more he pondered over his mother's remark, the less certain he felt. Perhaps the ship was sailing that night. Perhaps the captain had mentioned the fact to Anil's parents so that the information could be passed on. After all, Anil hadn't been down to the docks for 2 days, and the captain couldn't have had the opportunity of notifying Anil of the ship's imminent departure. Anyway, Anil decided there was no time to lose. He went to his room and, collecting the bundle of clothes, slipped out of the house. His parents were sitting out on the veranda, and for a while Anil stood outside in the gathering dusk, watching them. He felt a pang of regret at having to leave them alone for so long, perhaps several months. He would like to take them along too, but he knew that wouldn't be practical. Perhaps when he had a ship of his own. He hurried down the garden path, and as soon as he was on the road to the docks, he broke into a run. He felt sure he had heard the hoot of a steamer. Anil ran down the pier, breathing heavily, his bundle of clothes beginning to come undone. He saw the steamer, but it was moving. It was moving slowly out of the harbor, sending the waves rippling back to the pier.
"Captain,"
shouted Anil.
"wait for me."
A sailor standing in the bow waved to Anil, but that was all. Anil stood at the end of the pier, waving his hands and shouting desperately,
"Captain! Oh, Captain! Sir, wait for me!"
Nobody answered him. The seagulls wheeling in the wake of the ship seemed to take up his cry.
"Captain! Captain!"
The ship drew farther away, gathering speed. Still Anil shouted in a hoarse, pleading voice,
Yokohama, Valparaiso, San Diego, London, all were slipping away forever.
He stood alone on the pier, his bundle at his feet, the harbor lights beginning to twinkle, the gulls wheeling around him. First call Aden, then Suez, and up the canal. But for Anil, there was only the empty house and the boredom of the schoolroom. Next year, he told himself, Captain MacWhirr would return. He would be back, and then Anil wouldn't make a mistake. He would be on the ship long before it sailed. Captain MacWhirr had promised to take him along, and wasn't an adult's word to be trusted? And so he remained for a long time on the pier, staring out to sea until the steamer went over the horizon. Then he picked up his bundle and made for home. This year, next year, sometime. Yokohama, Valparaiso, San Diego, London.